So across the board, we're starting in Modern. Over on the Legacy table, we have Mario Martinez's Deathblade versus Lands. I gotta say I like Lands in that situation. Todd Stevens playing here. That one's gonna be close. And we have a Control Mirror. Man, I hope we get to see, if you've never seen Luke Feeney play, he's a great control player. I hope that we get to see some of that match.
Very deliberate, very patient.
Yeah, Jim Davis great at it too.
Yeah, speaking of deliberate players, that one will probably still be going on.
All right, well, Tomajko is gonna start out hitting with Monastery Swift Spear. Remember, Tomajko part of the U.S. national team this year.
Indeed.
Finally bringing that tournament back.
Yeah, the national champion, I believe.
He is the current U.S. national champion. Thoughtseize from Todd will show a second Swift Spear, a second Land, 2 Rift Bolts, and a Searing Blaze. A fine start for Burn. That's one of the things I like about Black Rain. I like that Todd got to cast Thoughtseize off of Blooming Marsh. You know, there was no Fetch Shock Thoughtseize.
This hand is not the kind of hand you want to deal 5 to Thoughtseize.
Swift Spear is gone, so we're left with 2 Searing Blaze and 2 Rift Bolts.
Stevens is playing 4 main deck copies of Dark Confidant. He doesn't want that one to survive, much less get Searing Blazed.
Right. Tomajko he draws Inspiring Vantage. He's going to disguise the fact, though, it looks like that he drew a land by fetching here. Swings for 1, puts Todd to 16. And 2 Rift Bolts are going to get suspended. All right. Over to Todd. He's got the Fatal Push ready. He'll cast Collective Brutality. He mentioned that this card's really good.
Indeed.
You see it usually double escalated in this matchup. Looks like at least 1 escalation. We'll see if it's more.
He has a Fatal Push in hand. It makes sense. Well, I suppose you're discarding Abrupt Decay, but
yeah.
Discarding a removal spell, if you're not killing the Swift Spear, it makes sense to get that. You know that a Searing Blaze is something you can hit with your Brutality, and gaining 2 life is obviously something you want to do.
So it looks like he just he chooses not to gain the 2 life. He does take the Searing Blaze and just remove the Swift Spear.
Must have a really nice hand if he wants to keep them all.
He'll go down to 10. These Rift Bolts will come on in.
And these Fielder
draws
Runes,
Boros Charm.
These Fielder Runes are actually causing Todd some problems. You see, second Field Room is his 3rd land.
Here's Tireless Tracker. Todd will get Boros Charmed down to 6. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on this because Todd could have been at 8, and that feels like it matters. It could matter here.
Yeah, very surprised that he didn't escalate a 3rd time.
Yeah, Tomajko makes Grim Lavamancer. That's going to be fodder for the Fatal Push. I actually like Todd's situation here. He's going to play a land to get a clue, crack the clue, tracker up to a 4/3, draws, Fatal Push. I'm really annoyed that it has a Revolt, even because he cracked a clue. So yeah, you can check that off, even though it's a 1-mana spell. That's stupid.
Tomajko drew a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, and this is where I'm still thinking, you know, I really wish Todd were at 8 right now. I would feel very confident in the game of him at 8.
Yes.
At 6, it's, I don't know. Liliana of the Veils to draw. And what a heads up. I guess it doesn't really matter. I was going to say that Tomajko has kept a land. Doesn't really play here. Another clue.
Yeah, given that you just cast a Lightning Bolt in response. He's holding on to this land because it would turn on any future Searing Blazes.
Okay.
And the Liliana would turn that off as the top deck.
Sure. He's going to Field of Ruin away the Sacred Foundry. And keep in mind, generally Burn does not, they don't have basics that are not mountains. So this turns off Boros Charm as a draw. I do like the play from Todd.
Right. Yeah, assuming he goes for Liliana here, that will hit the Vantage. Tomajko casts the Lightning Bolt and has to draw Lava Spike or Lightning Bolt. This turns off a lot of the draws.
Yeah, if he draws Helix, that's no good. Boros Charm, that's no good. Unclear if Rift Bolt is good enough. Here's Scavenging Ooze. Is there a creature in the graveyard? Yes. Yes, there is.
Yeah,
okay.
The Swift Spear is still hanging out down
Yeah, so
there.
this takes away the draw of the 4-point burn spell.
No, because he didn't Liliana, the Boros Charm could come off the top.
Ooh, and I thought it was a charm. It's a Lightning Helix.
That's less good.
And he'll say go. If Todd tries to gain life right here, he's going to lose.
Yeah, you want to see some patience here.
Oh, wow. Don't do it, Todd. Don't do it. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh.
Wow.
Todd. Well, he shakes his hand and says, ooh, I got played.
Yikes.
To Oliver, Tomajko. That was some theft right there.
And that was
wow.
two missteps by Stevens, and Tomajko just didn't let up.
Yeah, he exacts. And that's, you know, right. And you mentioned, okay, there was a missed sequence there at the end that gives the game to Tomajko. And then I mentioned before, I played Burn. If you're going to play against Burn, just pitch your cards to Collective Brutality. We can't beat that thing.
Yeah.
That card is that card is just a nightmare for the deck.
The 2 life mode is the one mode that you sometimes cast as the only mode on that card.
Yeah.
You just got to gain life.
Well, Tomajko, that's the first game complete here. So the team of Martinez, Tomajko, and Feeney now up here in the modern seed. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll have game number 2 of Todd Stevens versus Oliver Tomajko.
A Temple of Mystery is where Bill began. Now he has an amulet. It's a good start. There is... Uh-oh.
He's doing it all again.
Oh, Ancient Stirrings. Okay,
okay.
Not that bad.
So we are back here. Oliver Tomajko taking game 1 over there in Modern in a real theft. Now, good news for Todd Stevens is he has picked some very good teammates for the weekend. Right after his match finished, both the Legacy and Standard games finished game 1, and both of those were in his favor. So Jody Kieth and Jim Davis are both up.
And both of those matchups do look pretty good for his team.
Yeah. But we go over to the middle seat. Let's take a look at the sideboards for Todd Stevens. 4 Fulminator Mage, 3 Surgical Extraction, 2 Engineer Explosives, 2 Liliana the Last Hope, a Damnation, a Golgari Charm, a Thrun, and a Liliana's Defeat. Ryan, there's not too much I like here.
Yeah, I don't really like any of this.
Sometimes you board in Thrun against Burn.
I have seen Fulminator Mage be reasonable here because they do have these splashes. You know, they need white mana and they have no basic planes to cast some of their burn spells.
Yeah.
Fulminator Mage gets on the ground, it can enter combat with some of their creatures.
What I'd be looking at is what cards do I want to take out for them. And there's not much I feel that way about. Thoughtseize to me has always been pretty bad against Burn. Inquisition of Kozilek's great.
Yes.
Maybe he cut something there.
Dark
but
Confidant is pretty dicey.
It's dicey. It costs 2. Usually just trade it.
Yes.
If
you're able to get it in combat, that's not bad.
Now on Tomajko's side, he has Destructive Revelries, Path to Exiles, 3 Searing Bloods, 2 Core Firewalker, 2 Molten Rain, a Relic of Progenitus, and a Skullcrack. That would be his 4th Skullcrack. He has 3 in the main.
Kind of into Skullcrack once you've seen Collective Brutality. It's not pretty. You got to do something about that card, though.
Playing around, I mean, the issue is that there's not anything you can do about that card. It just beats you.
It's still going to be rough. If it comes down in a later turn, though, Skullcrack could be meaningful.
I mean, maybe your opponent just won't pitch cards to it, and then maybe you can still beat it. It's kind of your hope.
Because this is a 2-color deck, I'm not super into Molten Rain.
All right, Thoughtseize from Todd Stevens, game number 2. Looks like a 1-lander kept by Tomajko. He's got Lava Spike, Lightning Bolt, Goblin Guide. Okay, that's why I kept it. 2 Lightning Helixes and a Searing Blaze.
A fine hand. It's about to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think from Todd's spot, I first check to see if there's a Fatal Push in my hand, and then that determines whether or not I'm taking the Goblin Guide.
Second check to see if I have a Collective Brutality in hand.
Ooh, then I definitely want to leave the Goblin Guide if I have a Collective Brutality in hand. Maybe just take the Bolt.
In many circumstances, it's going to be the Goblin Guide here, though.
Okay, if your opponent looks at the hand and doesn't take your Goblin Guide, but what's Salva going to do? Not cast it? Like, Todd's telegraphing that Goblin Guide is dead.
Yeah, it's going to attack for at least 2.
And a miss on the land from Tomajko.
Well, he has time. He has one more
he has one more draw.
A couple 1-mana spells as well. He is going to need that second land at some point, though.
Challenge events, your pairings for your next round have gone up.
I think there's a discussion here for Tomajko whether he wants to suspend a Rift Bolt or cast Goblin Guide here.
He drew Rift Bolt. Yeah, I mean, he knows the Goblin Guide's not safe. But you got to cast it eventually, right?
If you think that Todd didn't take it because he has Collective Brutality, I think that's a reasonable argument to just suspend the Rift Bolt.
Sure. Eventually you have to cast the Goblin Guide.
Correct.
Looks like some consult with teammates here. Yeah, just going to suspend Rift Bolt. Nice play. Todd draws Fatal Push. That one's targetless right now. There's only one creature in Tomajko's hand. And he already has it covered. I guess Fatal Push can always beat. The cool part about Collective Brutality is you can always just discard the cards you don't need to it.
Yes.
So like he just drew something to escalate.
Right. Yeah, that card
nice.
is just so good in this matchup for so many reasons.
And there we go, right on time. It's an Inspiring Vantage for Tomajko.
That sets him up to just start casting Lightning Helixes. If he didn't play the guide last turn, I'd be pretty surprised to see it here. Obviously, the concern was primarily Collective Brutality, but you don't really want to play right into Fatal Push either.
Yeah, still not gonna. Here's Lava Spike. Puts Todd down to 12.
Hangs onto the land because of Searing Blaze.
Okay. Yeah, I like how he's played this game. He doesn't need the land yet.
That would cover something like Tireless Tracker or Scavenging Ooze here.
Tarmogoyf from Todd.
Instant Sorcery land. A little too big for Searing Blaze.
Lightning Helix the draw for Tomajko. He probably had that. We'll have to make that second land here. He's got a good amount of burn. He's got three Lightning Helixes, a Goblin Guide, and a Searing Blaze.
Be interesting to see if he just goes for Searing Blaze to convert 3 points right now.
Looks like no. He plays the Vantage and says go.
He can probably do better than that.
Scavenging Ooze to pick up for Todd Stevens.
I suppose if he's not drawing lands, he's drawing spells, right?
Yeah. Has to be one or the other. I mean, the worst thing would be if he just like kept drawing like Skull Cracks. That would be like more 2 damage, 3-point burn spells.
Ooh, there is a Collective Brutality for Stevens here.
Is Tomajko going to get him to cast it? No, here's Scavenging Ooze. Tap land, go.
There's no creatures just yet, so Tomajko doesn't have to care about Scavenging Ooze.
Lightning Helix, just go. And I like how he's just sending everything upstairs. This is really well played by Tomajko. Draws Lightning Bolt. That means a top deck to land next turn is lethal.
He can Helix here. He has to land against Searing Blaze plus Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, Todd's got to use that Collective Brutality. And, you know, he might get to. You see Inquisition of Kozilek drawn. That's big.
Combines with the Scavenging Ooze. Get that Goblin Guide. You probably have to go for a burn spell, though.
So, 2 Helixes, Bolt, Blaze, Goblin Guide.
Yeah, because he has Brutality.
And Fatal Push still, yeah. I think he can just start taking the burn spells.
Right.
Part of me just wants to start taking, like the Lightning Helixes, the Bolt, like take the Bolt, then like escalate the Brutality once, maybe gain 2, take another card. He'll take a Lightning Helix. And now here's Collective Brutality, escalated with a land. So yeah, he'll gain 2, go to 11. Tomajko's going to respond by helixing Todd down to 6. So it's 20 and 6. Then goes back to 18 and 8 on the Brutality. And he'll take Lightning Bolt. Swing. It's a pretty reasonable one. It's going to be for 5, puts Tomajko down to 13. And remember that last card is Fatal Push.
Mm-hmm. The Goblin Guide's not going to do too much here.
Yeah. Draw was Skullcrack from Tomajko. Kind of mentioned that's exactly what he didn't want to draw.
With the way that things changed, it's actually a better draw step now. He just needs to draw enough removal spell or burn spells that can go upstairs before he loses to these creatures. Right now, Steven's only attacking for 5, I suppose 7 with the Quagmire. If he fired that up, he could have a 2-turn clock, but he'd have to take down Fatal Push, and he knows about the Goblin Guide.
And Thrun from Todd.
Had something he wanted to take out. This will be lethal next turn, though.
Skullcrack puts Todd down to 5. I don't believe there's a draw Tomajko could have here.
Looks like he has 2 Goblin Guides. He can go on chump blocking duty, but that just makes it so the Scavenging Ooze can gain life.
Yep. Yeah, he'll play them both out as blockers. This I don't think it's going to work. But I still just want to mention how well, 2 Fatal Pushes, well, that'll definitely do it, how well Tomajko's been playing this game.
Yes.
This was, if you're looking to play Burn next week at the Pro Tour, I would study this match. He's very good at what he's doing.
Absolutely. A really great sequencing here.
So, 1 game apiece for Tomajko and Todd Stevens. Players are going to get ready for a Game 3. We'll be back with that in just a second. Welcome back here, Oliver Tomajko and Todd Stevens. Game number 2, Todd was able to equalize, making it a 1 game apiece. Todd Tomajko doing the best that a Burn player can to play around Collective Brutality. Todd's had one both games, and Tomajko's kept it close each time. I still want to go back and just say how impressed I was with him never casting Goblin Guide. That's some high-level stuff right there.
Yeah, that's suspending the Rift Bolt over casting Goblin Guide.
Yeah,
that was a nice play.
Yeah. Other good news here, though, for Tomajko, Mario Martinez with Esper Deathblade. He takes game 2 over Jody Kieth. You'll see that sometimes. These fair decks actually, now that Lance has gotten popular, have reasonable sideboards for the matchup to make it close.
Yeah. Even just having access to surgical extraction is really nice, and a lot of these fair decks do have that.
Him and Jody Kieth shuffling up here for a potential, or for what will be their 3rd game.
Yeah, he does have 3 surgicals in his sideboard.
That's big.
A Pithing Needle too, that one's reasonable.
All right, game 3. Tomajko starting off on a land, no plays just yet, so because he's on the play, he's able to keep something a little slower. This is also the first time where Todd is not thought seizing it. See Todd's interaction, looks like he has at least 1 fatal push.
I think it's 2 or 3.
I mean, I really do like the card in the matchup. I'm not sure I like 3 copies of it. If Oliver has all Burn.
And he seems to.
Oh, that's...
Boros Charm, double Lightning Bolt, double Helix.
This is really bad for Todd then. I mean, he's on a 4-card hand.
I mean, you can just discard them to some top deck Collective Brutality.
That's true. 1 Collective Brutality solves it all because you just...
Well, even without a creature, it's going to take more than 1 Brutality.
Yeah.
But, you know, the card is still a very good spell here. You can cast a Liliana, start discarding them to that.
I like all the options of ways he can discard them.
I'm an optimist.
Blooming Marsh for Todd Stevens and Scavenging Ooze, great card. We'll see if Oliver points a burn spell at the Ooze or whether they just all start going upstairs.
There's no creatures in the graveyard. I would just go upstairs.
He's got 2 bolts, 2 helixes, and a Boros Charm.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Yeah, he's just going to start with the biggest. Let's get the biggest one first before it's discarded. 4 damage in, Todd to 15. There's a creature that draws Monastery Swift Spear.
That's great. He can prowess that one up, kill the Ooze, attack.
Yeah. I wonder if he does that or whether he actually just never plays it and keeps throwing burn.
Currently he has 12 points of burn. Stevens is at 15.
It doesn't take that many turns because it's 2 bolts, 2 helixes. He doesn't take too many turns for him just to throw all of them.
Yeah, in 2 turns, his hand can be empty of cards that aren't Swift Spear outside of things that he draws from the top of his deck.
So this is a big decision moment for Oliver.
Yes.
I mean, you're right that probably Swift Spear plus burning the Scavenging Ooze it's minus 1 point of damage. So it feels too good to pass up. But it is an important difference. So he'll swing Swift Spear. No blocks from Todd. He's gonna, I'm surprised to see him use Bolt. He's gonna Bolt. We'll see if it's the Ooze or whether it's Todd.
I figure it's Todd. This way he shoves through even more damage.
Okay, so Todd at 10.
Yeah, you figure that Todd can't block your 1-2 with the Scavenging Ooze because of the prowess. Well, and you just get the prowess trigger on your lightning bolt this
right,
way.
So you got 3 extra damage by bolting upstairs, and you have to think, there's no way leaving, if you leave Ooze alive, will Todd gain 3 life with it? And the answer is probably no.
Right, there has to be 3 creatures in the graveyard.
Yeah, so, and he'll pass back.
We have instant land in graveyards.
Yeah, Oliver not yet burning on end step with lightning bolts. He's trying to preserve the fetch land for Searing Blaze, though with the pickup of Skullcrack this turn and Todd at 10, he may not care. A 4th land here and his hand will be lethal. If the top card's a land, he's good. He's made. Goes to attack, Fatal Push, or says go, Fatal Push takes down the Swift Spear. Back over to Todd Stevens. Goif's a 3-4. Probably doesn't want to eat the Swift Spear just yet then. There is a Skullcrack also.
Yeah, the combat damage, assuming both your creatures survive, is the same. You either get +1 or...
So Tomajko down to 12. Liliana, that's a big card here.
Tapping a lot of mana there.
Yeah, I don't mind it. This is... So he's going to plus. All right, Oliver, he's got to make a play. He has about... Yeah, I don't know if he can...
Hold on, Tomajko discards that. He can go for 2 spells here, and if he draws any 1-mana non-Grim Lavamancer card, he has lethal.
There aren't that many, though. Oh, because Todd's tapped out of blockers? So like Swift
there's no blockers, so the haste creatures are live. He has 9 points of burn he can fire off here.
Rift Bolt should work, too.
Right. That one very likely to convert.
Oliver down to 11. Yes, he's got to throw burn on the end step here. Todd's going to drop to 6. Tomajko only has 9 points of burn in his hand right now. And whatever he doesn't cast, he very well may lose. Here's Lightning Helix. He's himself up to 14. Stevens down to 4. Untaps. Does he get the burn spell? Relic of Progenitus. You know, I don't mind that.
He can stop Stevens from gaining life off of that Swift Spear.
No,
he can turn off the Tarmogoyf into a 0-1.
Well, right now, he can Skullcrack Stevens to 1, and he can tap the relic targeting himself and get his own Swift Spear out of there.
And then on the next turn, he'll be able to exile all graveyards, have 2 draws at a lethal burn spell, and even if he misses, turns the Tarmogoyf into a 0-1 temporarily.
Shrinks Goyf down to 3-4. Remember, Planeswalker was added there, so actually make that into 4-5. No creature, so it's instant sorcery. Actually, there's no sorcery. It's just instant land. Instant land Planeswalker. 1 card left in Tomajko's hand. It is Skullcrack.
Yeah, so that would cover him even against Stevens' top decking Collective Brutality.
Yeah, and I
here.
like how Relic cycles also. It like, because he can cast it, it's a card that cycles. He gets a new card off it, but it's not in his hand, so Liliana doesn't work.
Right.
It was actually a pretty good draw for Tomajko.
Yeah. Among his non-lethal draws, this is one of the better ones.
I mean, he needed it to cost 1 mana. So ups Liliana in response to Tomajko Skullcracks. Todd Stevens is at 1. He's got, Tomajko needs in the top 2 cards of his deck, he needs a burn spell. That's not, well, I guess if the second one down is Rift Bolt, that doesn't work either.
Well, he buys some time by exiling the Relic, because then the pressure is on Stevens to get the Tarmogoyf larger than a 0-1 again.
Oh yeah, it might not even be lethal. Discards a creature, back up to 4-5. Swings in, it's for 6, Tomajko to 8. Yeah, I don't like where Todd's sitting at all here. So, knock the top of the deck. Can Tomajko convert? Here's Lava Spike. He'll do it. That's matched. Oliver Tomajko with burn. 2 games to 1. He is your winner on the modern table.
Really well navigated by Tomajko there. You see him taking him down. In the one game where there's no collective brutality, that one, a lot easier.
All right, so first match is complete. We're going to move over to the other game 3 being played. That's the legacy game between Mario Martinez and Jody Kieth. They're currently in game number 3. Jody got game 1, but ever since sideboarding, Mario managed to equalize. He's got a pretty good sideboard, as you mentioned, for the matchup.
Yeah, there's 3 surgical extractions, a pithing needle, Snapcaster Mage, which is more surgical extractions. Can go for swords to plowshares to take care of any merit lages if you're terribly concerned.
Might be a tough go, though, for Mario. It looks like Jody on the play was able to, well, I don't want to say accelerate out. I don't think he accelerated much of anything, but he's got some control on the board. Sorceress Spyglass right now is in play, and that is set to Flooded Strand. So between that and this Tireless Tracker, Jody has control of the game at the moment.
Yikes. And it looks like that Wasteland probably has been tossed around a little bit. I'll see a Life from the Loam hanging out in Jody's hand. Tropical Island in Martinez's graveyard. That doesn't go there on its own.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and head over to the standard match. This one kind of, you know, it looks like Jody's going to wrap this one up. It will take a while because he's playing lands. So we're going to look at Jim Davis and Luke Feeney here. This, as it's likely, if Jody wins, and we expect him to, it's going to come down to this control matchup in standard.
Those trackers should make it pretty quick.
I would think so, yeah. It also looked like Martinez had 2 more Flooded Strands in hand. So,
Yeah.
Okay, that's horrible. All right, and this control mirror here for Grixis Energy versus Blue-Black Warrior in sideboarded games. We'll get our life totals correct in just a second here. 8 to 10. On Feeney's side, he's untapping with 6 lands. On Jim's side, he has 9, including a Field of Ruin and a converted Search for Azcanta.
Yikes.
Cards in hand, 5 for Jim, 7 for Luke. Make that 6 for Luke.
Having extra cards in hand is nice, but when you're at this kind of mana deficit, and when Davis has just the Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin, it doesn't mean very much.
Here is Treasure Map from Luke Feeney. It's a 1-of out of his sideboard.
This is a nice card in the control mirror.
Yeah.
Allows him to scry a few times, and then generate some extra mana and the ability to draw extra cards when it transforms. I would say it's a fair amount worse than Search for Azcanta, though.
Yeah, he's still. I really liked what you had to say about the land deficit, especially in this kind of Glimmer of Genius Gear Hulk thing going on. I think the mana's really going to matter. We see Jim end step a Torrential Gear Hulk. Essence Scatter from Luke does not want any of that. Jim does have a disallow, though. We'll see if he pulls the trigger. He's going to try. Does Luke have a negate or maybe another Essence Scatter?
It's worth fighting over for Jim, but I want to say there's another counterspell for Feeney if he wants it.
Counterspells trade. Does it resolve? We will see. There's something at the bottom there. I think it's not. I think he has Supreme Will, Torrential Gear Hulk of his own. No, just kidding. Here's Essence Scatter.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Pretty aggressive for Jim there to just play into that when he has this mana advantage. You don't need to actually win the game in the control mirror. You kind of want to do it before the treasure map transforms.
Yeah, I like it. It forced, because Luke was down to 4 mana, it forced a very specific set of cards. But you're right, the Jim did lose the counter war.
Yeah, just activating Search for Azcanta is so good that if at all possible, you kind of just want to do that every turn.
Yeah. And confirming Jody Kieth. It's a close one, but he did hang on. So this is the deciding match.
Here's a nice prize for Davis, though.
Yeah, tapped out. Here's, not only is it Scarab God, it is Scarab God with activation up. And that's where he can press the mana advantage. I like how Jim end step overloaded the mana. Like, his play here of end step threat, untap bigger threat was really nice.
Yes.
Luke's gonna say go. We'll see if Jim, and if I'm in Jim's spot, I just untap my lands. I don't even go for this Gear Hulk yet.
If you have a counterspell, you kind of want to leave it up to fight over Vraska's Contempt.
We have a life total correction here. Luke actually at 10, we're at 8, so we apologize for that. 10 life points apiece.
That's like the same number.
That's not what this is about. Here's Scarab God swinging in for 5.
5 plus 5. Check my math here. 10?
It's going to work. I will have to do, hold on. Oh, my fingers, this is easy. I got this one.
All right.
So I was both hands. Now it's just the right hand. All right.
Why the right hand?
It's the better one. Here's Glimmer of Genius from Luke. At least for me it is. I'm horrible with my left hand.
I can do a small number of things with my left hand. I'm not good at any of them. Like I shoot pool left-handed, but I'm not like a pool shark. It just feels natural, but I'm like kind of bad, so it doesn't really matter.
Sure. Clean Sleeve Siphoner added for Jim when Luke untaps. Treasure map again. Just scry on upkeep. Yeah, see a look over there from Oliver Tomajko and realizes his teammate is in a tough spot. These players are in the 2 and 1 bracket right now, so. And Luke going to pick them up. So it is the team of Jody Kieth, Todd Stevens, and Jim Davis. They are your winners. Todd losing the modern match, but his teammates come through for him. And with that win, their team improves to 3 and 1.